Subliminal messages. A subliminal message, it's a signal as in a sound, a word, or an image designed to pass right below or under the normal limit of human perception. This is a message we may not hear or even see at the conscious mind level, but that could be heard and seen to the subconscious or deeper mind, like an image showed to us very, very fast and unperceived consciously and yet perceived subconsciously. Or as a sound played at a different frequency that may be so low that we don't consciously hear it, but our subconscious mind does. This definition clearly assumes a division between conscious and subconscious, which many people may consider extreme or debatable. Therefore, it may sound better if I say that the subliminal message, sound or image, it's perceived by deeper parts of our minds. In the everyday world, it has often been suggested that subliminal techniques are used in advertising by the big marketing companies. However, they don't quite come out directly and say it because there is also the ethical discussion about the use of this type of messages. Is it manipulation, or is it simply an advertising tool that really does the work? The term subliminal message came to the public's attention in a 1957 book entitled The Hidden Persuaders by Vance Packard. At that point in the American history, during the Cold War, this book exposed what looked like psychologically manipulative methods that marketers were bringing to advertising through exposing a detailed study of movie theaters that supposedly used subliminal commands to increase the sales of popcorn and Coca-Cola at their concession stands, and made the consumers wondering if the government uses the same kind of techniques to create political propaganda, or maybe some cults could use these techniques to brainwash people to become their members. So these subliminal messages definitely were not received with a positive note, and as a result, the American Television Network and the National Association of Broadcasters completely banned these subliminal ads in 1958. But just a few years later, in 1962, James Vickery, a market researcher who previously claimed that during an experiment with subliminal advertising in a movie theater, they saw an increase of 18% in Coke sales and 57.8% increase in popcorn purchases, he finally admitted that the study and the results were in fact fabricated, so they were not true. Not long after that, the American Psychological Association said that subliminal advertising, it's not necessarily evil, but it's ambiguous and not as effective as traditional advertising. And the subject was not given much attention any longer until 1973, when a new book on the subject was published. The book Subliminal Seduction by Dr. Wilson B. Kay claimed that subliminal techniques were in fact widely used in advertising at that point in time, creating another wave of public concern, and this was enough to lead the Federal Communications Commission to hold hearings and to declare subliminal advertising contrary to the public interest because it involved intentional deception of the public. To continue the history, later on, the Federal Trade Commission got involved and confirmed that subliminal ads that cause consumers to subconsciously select certain goods or services, or can make consumers change otherwise normal behavior, might constitute a deceptive or unfair practice. But the key word here is might. And because of this ambiguity, which looks to many as it was created on purpose, there is today no ban in the United States or many other countries for against this subliminal advertising. And we still don't have a clear definition of what exactly it is and who's using it. To dig a little deeper in the psychology realm, subliminal perception, it's a subset of subconscious cognition. An example of this could be responding to just one subconsciously recognizable sound or signal in a very noisy environment while keeping track of other noises or signals as well. Like, for example, hearing distinctively one voice out of many in a crowded, loud room. It could also be hearing or even seeing something at the subconscious level while performing tasks consciously, but done automatically, like, for example, driving a car. Many people think of the subliminal perception as an extra sense or an inspiration to go buy something or do something, when in fact, they may just have been exposed to some kind of subliminal messaging. Many studies about subliminal perception have been conducted. There were studies done on patients under full anesthesia who were completely unaware, asleep, and unconscious, and they have been exposed to certain sounds or images, and when they woke up, they could recall some of the sounds and information that was given to them, which confirmed that information can be and it is perceived by human brains without conscious awareness. I have a personal example of how subliminal messages seem to work, at least they work for me. As a child, long before I even knew that these subliminal messages exist, at home in Romania, when I was in my elementary school and later on in high school, I had to study for different tests and exams, just like everybody. During the day, I would read and read those chapters I had to prepare for the test. However, I did notice that if I record myself reading the material that I was supposed to memorize, because that's how the tests were back then, and I play that recording while I sleep, I tend to remember much more information for my exams than if I don't. So that worked for me. Another example is that from old ages to this day, people have been listening to the sacred solfeggio frequencies to heal and to feel better. And you can find many of these videos on YouTube. These frequencies seem to work best for reprogramming the subconscious mind, and the best way to do that is to listen to them while meditating or while you're sleeping. Okay, so let's summarize. Subliminal messages are believed to have their potential power from the fact that they can be bypassing the critical functions of our conscious minds, and therefore they can be more powerful than the ordinary suggestions we make to each other or we see consciously in commercials or in advertising. This type of influence and persuasion goes hand in hand with autosuggestion or hypnosis, because when our brains are exposed to these subliminal messages, we are encouraged to act or to think in a certain way. So, pertinent to our course, a form of subliminal messaging involves the existence of hidden messages into videos and images on social media as well as on the big screens. And it's linked to different marketing campaigns, as well as it has been shown to influence how much people are willing to pay for a certain product. According to an article posted on neurosciencemarketing.com, more than 10 years ago, two marketing researchers conducted a study in which the participants were briefly exposed to images of smiling or frowning faces for 16 milliseconds, which is so fast that it's not long enough for the people participating in the study to consciously register the image or to identify the emotion as that image was portraying. As a result, when the individuals were seeing smiley faces, they were doing two things. They were pouring themselves significantly more drinks from a pitcher that each had in front of them, and they were willing to pay twice as much for those drinks compared to when they were viewing the grouchy faces. The marketing researchers call this the unconscious emotion, which meant that while being exposed to those images without even realizing it, an emotional change had taken place in the individuals without them being aware of the stimulus that created this emotional change. As translated into buying power, smiling faces can subconsciously get humans to buy more stuff. suggesting that the strategy of maintaining a positive attitude and a happy energy while dealing with others, especially if you are in the selling business, selling something, will get people to buy more from you. On the other hand, as buyers, we tend to buy more from salespeople who smile back at us rather than from those who don't. Now, at the end of this lecture, I'm going to answer the question that probably many of you have in mind at this point. And the question is, does subliminal advertising really works? Does it really exist? And the answer, according to the marketers who conducted many studies on the subject, it's simply yes. And it works very well so. And it's also pretty used even though nobody will recognize it. Now, I don't want this to play hand in hand with any conspiracy theories. These are marketing strategies that have been used along the years. And again, they may have been used even today or maybe not. We do not know, but this is possibly one of the reasons why we buy what we buy.